I'll cross to the US in a moment and catch up on the fallout from Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son Hunter. But first, take a look at CNN explaining who was behind the move.
Clearly, there was pressure inside the family. We were told really in recent weeks that Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, was very supportive of the president doing something like this. The president was not sure, but we clearly have seen now he has come to this decision to pardon his son Hunter.
So was Jill Biden pulling the strings? I put it to Kristin Tate.
Well, yes, it does. It seems that Jill Biden has been in control for quite some time now. I mean, we have a president of the United States who is basically a vegetable at this point and has been so for a number of years. And she has been behind the scenes wielding real power. So is it surprising that she may have had something to do with this pardon? Absolutely not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Obviously, a decision like this, the family's going to be involved. Jill Biden's going to be involved, but especially so, as you say, somebody's been telling Joe Biden what to do for every day of the past few years. And I think his wife is number one in the frame for a lot of that. This is what she had to say. She was asked about Hunter Biden's pardoning, and you can just make out what she has to say above the din of the Christmas cheer.
Dr. Biden, what changed on the pardon of Hunter?
Yeah, of course, she supports the pardoning of her son. Now, Donald Trump has reacted to this as well on the social media. He says, does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the January the 6th hostages, he calls them, who have now been imprisoned for years? And this is the important bit, I think. He says this is an abuse of justice and a miscarriage of justice. He's gone in hard as ever, Kristin.
Yes, but it's also just not particularly surprising. We've seen during the entire Joe Biden administration that this is a two-tiered justice system, and that has really opened a lot of Americans' eyes. You know, the Democrats used to pretend that they really care about the equality before the law for all Americans, but they have been so flagrant in pursuing a politicized justice system in the last few years that it has woken up so many Americans who used to blindly trust the system. And this all really had a major impact in Donald Trump's reelection. Also, just the flagrant lies from Joe Biden look so awful. You know, he said over and over again he was not going to pardon his son. He was lying the whole time. We all knew he was lying, and he knew that we knew he was lying, but he didn't care. He did it anyway because all he cares about is protecting his family, his corrupt business dealings, and the cash that resulted from it. And he couldn't care less about the peasants he's pretended to work for the last 50 years, namely the voters. It is such an insult, but hey, I guess he has nothing to lose at this point. He's riding off into the sunset and leaving office.
Yeah, it's shocking, as you say. We talked about this yesterday, of course, the fact that he'd said so often there would be no pardon, so he's broken his word. But the other point you referred to is so many Democrats said nobody is above the law, nobody is above the law. It became a mantra. Of course, they were targeting Donald Trump. They were talking about Donald Trump. But it turns out, actually, somebody is above the law, and it happens to be President Joe Biden's son, Hunter. And the president is in Africa now. As he was heading out, he refused to answer any questions about this. Have a look. Yeah, so Joe Biden just avoiding the issue. We'll see if he can avoid it for his couple of days in Africa. But I want to go to the left media now and talk about how they're dealing with it. Those crazies on The View want to turn all this against Donald Trump. Whoopi Goldberg's trying to turn the pardoning of Hunter Biden, which she seems to excuse because he was a drug addict, and turn it against Donald Trump. Have a look.
It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it.
Good Lord, Kristin, what do you make of that?
I mean, look, Hunter Biden's behavior was despicable, but the most infuriating part about all of this is not what a creep Hunter Biden is or how corrupt he was. It's the way the media has completely ignored the corruption for years at this point. They have been complicit in this. Remember, when the New York Post broke the story about Hunter Biden's laptop right before the 2020 election, normal people were blocked from sharing that story on social media. If you did try to share the story, you were told you were spreading Russian propaganda. I mean, just imagine for a moment if Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop had been discovered and all of this kind of material suggesting corruption or at the very least very unseemly behavior was found. Do you think the media would be interested in that? Of course they would. It would be shared everywhere. It would be front page news for months. But because this was the Bidens, because it was Democrats, the media didn't want to talk about it. And they are continuing to downplay the story and make excuses for it even now. It is disgusting. But is it surprising? Absolutely not.
No, it's not surprising. It's one of those things where all you have to do is flip it around and imagine what the mainstream media reaction would be. Imagine if it was a President Donald Trump pardoning one of his children, there would be hell to pay.
Right.
Now, just on that, I want to get your reaction to a more substantial issue when it comes to global affairs, and one that relates to lives that need to be saved. And they are, of course, the hostages held in Gaza by Hamas. Donald Trump has posted that if these hostages are not released prior to him being inaugurated on January the 20th next year, there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East. So he's making this warning, and he's saying that these hostages must be released now. Let's hope, Kristin, that this threat pays dividends.
Yes, well, we finally have a strong leader back in office. Remember, there was peace in the Middle East under Donald Trump. And I suspect that peace, or at least relative peace, will return to that region. Donald Trump never really reveals what he will do. He just kind of makes these general threats, and that is very scary to our enemies abroad. He's unpredictable. People around the world don't know what to expect for Trump, and that's kind of his superpower. So it feels good as an American right now to know that come January, we will have a real and a sentient and a strong leader back in the White House. It will bring, it'll be much better for the world and for peace and for these hostages.
Yeah, let's hope so, and let's hope those hostages are freed the sooner the better. Thanks for joining us again, Kristin.
Thank you so much, Chris.